Welcome to Fieldwood Energy. My name is Matt McCarroll, and I am President and Chief Executive Officer of Fieldwood. The video you are about to see is very important to you, your family, and the personnel you work with here at Fieldwood. It is important because it contains vital information that will impact your safety and the safety of others. With that said, I want to make a few things perfectly clear. First, you have my commitment to safety. Safety and protecting the environment will remain a top priority at Fieldwood. There is a strong safety culture that currently exists in our operations, and I will continue to support that culture. For example, if you see an unsafe act or situation, you have the responsibility to stop the work and get with your supervisor to address the situation so that it can be done safely. There will be absolutely no repercussions from this. You have my commitment. Second, everyone is responsible for safety. As a member of the Fieldwood workforce, whether as an employee or contractor, you will be expected to uphold the standards that have already been established and our industry has come to expect. Third, you will be given the resources to succeed. We have developed and implemented a strong safety and environmental management system, which includes detailed safe work practices and programs that are designed to help guide you. If you utilize these resources in a responsible manner, you have the tools you need to perform your job safely. Finally, your commitment to work safe is expected at Fieldwood. I ask that all of you work as a team and look out for the well-being and safety of one another. Please discuss this in your safety meetings and remind your coworkers to stay focused as we move forward as a proud and successful organization. Remember, your family and your coworkers are counting on you. Thank you.
Welcome to Fieldwood Energy. We would like for your stay at our facility to be both productive and safe. You'll receive a site-specific orientation once you board the facility. Fieldwood is committed to conducting operations safely and in compliance with all applicable regulations. Fieldwood has developed a Safety and Environmental Management System, or SIMS, and safe work practices to assure that this objective is accomplished. We believe that accidents are preventable and are the result of unsafe acts rather than unsafe conditions. Well-trained, knowledgeable personnel working safely are essential to providing an accident-free workplace. In an effort to enhance your knowledge base and reduce the chance for accidents, the following orientation is provided to familiarize you with procedures that are expected of all personnel working here at this Fieldwood offshore platform. This information should help you perform tasks safely. Your safety, as well as the safety of all personnel, depends on your knowledge of this material. So please pay close attention to the following orientation. With well-trained personnel working together, we can provide an accident-free workplace here at Fieldwood. General safety. Personal protective equipment. Here at Fieldwood, we require that appropriate personal protective equipment be worn when necessary. Safety glasses, hard hat, and steel-toed safety shoes or boots with an appropriate heel, along with Class II fire-retardant clothing, must be worn anytime personnel are outside of the living quarters. To function properly, personal protective equipment must be worn as designed and be in good condition. Gloves should also be worn when handling tools and equipment that may cause hand injuries. Additionally, all personal protective equipment must meet governmental regulations as well as Fieldwood standards. Additional personal protective equipment may be required depending on the task and working conditions. For example, when personnel are exposed to dust, mist, fumes, or vapors, a respirator is required. Fall protection. Fall protection is an essential part of your personal protective equipment and should be worn anytime you are at risk of a fall of 6 feet or more. Fieldwood requires 100% tie-off when the risk of a fall is present. A full-body harness with a Y lanyard and attached shock-absorbing device is required. Lanyards must be equipped with a positive locking snap hook that prevents rollout. Before donning the full-body harness, you should inspect the condition of the harness and lanyard to ensure that they are in good working condition. Equipment in poor condition should be taken out of service and properly disposed of. To function properly, the harness must be worn correctly with all snaps and buckles adjusted to provide the wearer with a snug fit. The harness must fit snugly around the legs and chest and be attached to a secured structure above the waist to provide adequate protection in the event of a fall. The full-body harness is equipped with a deceleration device or shock absorbers, which reduce the impact felt by personnel in the event of a fall. Upon falling, shock absorbers release additional folds of lanyard, slowing the person's rate of descent. Although shock absorbers can reduce injuries during a fall, the best defense is selecting an anchor point above you to minimize the fall distance. The ideal hookup location is above the worker's head in a position that allows maximum free fall of 1 foot or less. Hookup locations should never be selected that allow the wearer to fall vertically more than 5 feet or to a surface below. Safety lanyards must be attached to fixed stationary objects capable of supporting 5,000 pounds or more. Do not wrap lanyards around beams or objects unless your lanyard is designed to tie back to itself. Always use the proper anchor devices to secure the lanyard. Open holes. Fieldwood has a very strict policy regarding open holes. An open hole exists when there is a gap, space, or opening in the walking surface which is large enough to allow entry of a worker's foot. They are often created as a result of damage to the structure or are purposely installed to facilitate a work activity. Open holes are extremely hazardous, and they must be eliminated immediately. The preferred method is to install a cover of sufficient strength and integrity that has a sure fit and that has been sufficiently secured. A cover must be able to support twice the weight that may be imposed upon it and should not protrude above the walking surface, creating a trip hazard. Generally, covers that protrude less than 1 inch above the walking surface and contain beveled edges are acceptable. Another acceptable method of eliminating open holes is to construct a barrier of sufficient strength and integrity to prevent workers from entering the area. The preferred design for a barrier consists of a standard handrail piping or scaffold piping constructed with a top rail, an intermediate rail, and a 4-inch toe board or bottom rail. The barrier should have a vertical height of no less than 42 inches and should be able to withstand a load of at least 200 pounds applied in any direction at any point to the top rail. In some instances, the use of standard handrail piping and railings-type barriers may not be possible. In these cases, a barrier can be constructed using a series of restraining cables, anchoring posts, and construction fencing. Any person working around, entering, or crossing the barrier of an open hole must be wearing approved fall protection equipment and be securely tied off to an appropriate anchor point prior to breaking the plane of entry. In addition, an open hole attendant must be assigned to monitor and guard the open hole at all times while the hazard exists. This includes the time period while the barrier is being constructed. Under no circumstances are unbarricaded, unattended open holes allowed. All hole attendants must wear fall protection and fulfill their duties of alerting all personnel to the presence of an open hole and requiring them to remain at a safe distance from the hazard. A hole attendant or hole watch is never to be used as the primary mitigation of the open hole hazard when a protective barrier can or should be constructed or a cover placed over the hole. Hearing protection. Hearing protection is another type of personal protective equipment and is required when personnel are exposed to noise levels that exceed 85 decibels. Known high-noise areas are marked with high-noise hazard signs around the platform. Additionally, a good rule of thumb is, if you must raise your voice to be heard from a distance of 3 feet or less, hearing protection is required. Hearing loss due to industrial noise is permanent, so please protect your hearing, whether you're here at Fieldwood or at another company's facility. MSDS. All Fieldwood facilities maintain up-to-date material safety data sheets or MSDS. MSDS contain all information regarding all hazardous substances found at the job site. If you are required to handle hazardous chemicals, handling information including the required personal protective equipment can be found in the MSDS. Additionally, if you brought hazardous substances to the facility, these materials must be reported. In the unlikely event you should notice unlabeled containers during your stay here, please notify a Fieldwood supervisor. Housekeeping. Our goal at Fieldwood is to provide a safe, healthful workplace for all personnel, and we realize that a neat job site is conducive to a safe job site. If we all practice good housekeeping skills, we can minimize risk to personnel and the environment. While you are performing your duties here at the facility, try to minimize slip and trip hazards by keeping aisles and walkways clear of hazards. Run hoses and cables along the side of walkways, and if it is necessary to cross a walkway, cross it at a 90-degree angle. We want you to realize that good housekeeping is an ongoing process. Never allow trash or debris to accumulate with the thought that it can be cleaned up later. Stairways. Your safety is of utmost importance, and Fieldwood's policy regarding stairways was developed with this thought in mind. While ascending or descending stairways, one hand must remain on the handrail at all times. If you are carrying a load that requires two hands, make an extra trip, use a hoist or a crane to move the load, but always keep one hand on the rail at all times. Smoking. Smoking at our facilities is limited to designated areas only. Make certain you are in a designated smoking area prior to lighting up. Absolutely no smoking is allowed in bedrooms, bunks, galleys, offices, heliports, or any other non-designated area located on Fieldwood premises. Fieldwood has zero tolerance for personnel violating this policy. Drugs, alcohol, and firearms. Fieldwood strictly prohibits the use or possession of illegal drugs, alcohol, or firearms in the workplace. Herbal incense and aromatic potpourri are also strictly prohibited on all Fieldwood properties. All personnel are subject to random drug testing and search of their property while on company premises. If you are under the care of a physician and are taking prescription drugs, those drugs should be reported to a Fieldwood supervisor for your safety and the safety of others. Please do not endanger yourself or other personnel working around you by using illegal drugs or alcohol. Cranes and rigging. Cranes are used in daily operations to move various types of materials. Personnel must be trained and qualified in crane operation according to the latest edition of American Petroleum Institute Recommended Practice 2D and possess a Fieldwood crane operator qualification card. Before crane operations begin, a qualified operator must perform a pre-use inspection of the crane. One signal person should be designated to signal the operator, and proper communication must be established by using either radio communication or hand signals before beginning the lift. All routine signals should come from the signal person only. However, anyone can give the emergency stop signal. Like crane operators, riggers must be trained and qualified according to RP2D before rigging any types of loads. The following are some safety suggestions to consider when rigging crane loads. Before lifting the load, pathways should be cleared and tag lines should be attached. Remember to avoid pinch point situations. Workers should never position themselves between the load and a fixed object. When securing a crane after operations are complete, do not position the ball over personnel. All loads shall be transported as low as possible. Remember that a suspended load should never be left unattended. Before rigging loads, ensure that all slings are certified by inspecting the affixed certification tag. The certification tag provides critical information about the load rating of the sling. Never exceed the load rating of the sling. Carefully inspect the sling for cuts, abrasions, and signs of stretching. When inspecting nylon slings, if red threads are exposed, do not use them. Never use any sling that is defective or in marginal condition. Select slings appropriate for the lift, and remember to make sure it is rated for the load. Be aware that sling angles, turning loads, shocks, and the hitch you choose affect the actual lifting capacity of a sling. The angle of the leg of the sling that is attached to the object to be lifted directly affects the capacity of the sling. The greater the leg angle of the sling, the greater the loss in lifting capacity. When securing the sling to the load, attach the load securely so that the load cannot slip or damage the sling. Also, make certain that all safety latches are functional at this time. Ensure that hooks used to connect the sling to the load are rated for the load, and that the load is properly balanced. The load should not be supported on the point of the hook. Its load carrying capacity can be reduced by as much as 50%. Always use tag lines when moving loads. Tag lines should be of proper length and free of knots. Never allow tag lines to wrap around your wrists, hands, or any other part of your body. SIMS. Safety meetings, job safety analysis, RJSAs, and emergency drills are an integral part of our operations. Fieldwood's SIMS program requires thorough pre-job planning and communication to identify all potential hazards. The JSA is used to accomplish this. Fieldwood requires JSAs and pre-job meetings prior to all job tasks. Fieldwood has also established a daily work review and permit storage system, or DRAPS, to assist with safe job planning and record keeping. All personnel are expected to participate in all drills along with the JSA and pre-job meeting process. Lockout-tagout. Many people assume that lockout-tagout relates to electrical equipment only. To the contrary, lockout-tagout should be performed on any type of equipment that contains pressure, moving parts, or any equipment that may be energized. Fieldwood has developed a very strict and comprehensive lockout-tagout policy. If your duties require you to work on any equipment, you must adhere to Fieldwood's safe work practices regarding lockout-tagout. First, survey the location exposures and all isolating devices to be certain which switches, valves, or other energy isolating devices apply to the equipment to be serviced. Next, notify all affected personnel that a lockout-tagout is to be performed. Shut down the equipment by the normal stopping procedure. Evaluate the safest way to drain, de-energize, or dissipate the stored potential or kinetic energy. Isolate the energy source in an off or safe position with chains, blinds, valves, blocks, or disconnection. Lock the energy isolating devices with assigned individual locks. Every person working on the equipment must use his or her own individual lock. A tag that identifies the person working on the equipment, the date, the equipment locked out, and the reason for the lockout should accompany each lock. Once locked and tagged, clear the area and test the equipment by trying to start the equipment with the locks in place. Once the test is performed, return all switches to the off or safe position. Only after the equipment has been locked, tagged, cleared, and tried can the equipment be serviced, inspected, or maintained. It is important to remember never remove a lock or tag applied by someone else. In some cases, it may be appropriate for a watch to be assigned to guard the operation. Hot work. Additional precautions must be taken any time hot work is performed. Hot work includes the use of any equipment or machinery that might produce sparks or heat. For example, the use of cutting torches, welding equipment, hot oil or vacuum units, steamers, gasoline engines, or spark-producing hand tools are all considered hot work. Anytime hot work is performed, Fieldwood has very specific procedures that must be followed. Before you engage in any activity that might be considered hot work, check with the Fieldwood personnel in charge so that a hot work permit can be issued and extraordinary safety procedures can be taken. Confined space entry. Confined space entry is not only dangerous, it can be fatal. OSHA has defined a confined space as one which is large enough and configured so that a person can bodily enter the space and perform assigned work, has limited or restricted means of entry or exit, and is not designated for continuous occupancy. Entry occurs when any part of the body breaks the plane of the confined space opening. Extreme caution must be exercised, and a confined space permit must be completed before entry into any area considered a confined space. Fieldwood will obtain competent trained personnel to assess and safely enter the confined space area. Incident reporting. Fieldwood follows strict spill reporting procedures. Therefore, please immediately notify the appropriate Fieldwood personnel. Finally, to achieve our goal of an accident-free workplace, it is critical that all accidents and near misses be reported. An example of an accident is any incident that results in injury to personnel, equipment damage, or adverse environmental impact. A near miss is any incident that has the potential to cause injury to personnel, equipment damage, or an adverse environmental impact. Regardless of the severity, all accidents and near misses must be reported. Our safety management system relies on this information to anticipate and correct potential hazards. You are doing yourself and your coworkers a disservice by withholding this vital information, so please report all incidents to a facility supervisor. Emergency response. If an emergency situation should develop during your stay, it is critical that you understand and adhere to the following procedures. First, it is important that you understand the communication system and how to report an emergency. You will be given a tour at the facility, which will include an explanation of the communication equipment and platform emergency alarm system. If you witness an emergency situation, remember to remain calm. Access the communication device and report the emergency. You will need to answer questions relevant to the current situation. You may be instructed to remain in a safe area until Fieldwood personnel have arrived. If you do witness an emergency, do not hesitate to report it to the appropriate personnel. Upon arrival to the facility, you will be assigned a primary and secondary mustering station. You will be shown the exact location of your specific muster stations. The different types of alarms will be sounded, and you will receive an explanation of what your responsibilities are for each alarm sounded. Personnel arriving at the mustering station should immediately don a PFD. PFDs are located in each room and should be used during mustering drills and emergency situations. If you are not in your room during an emergency situation, PFDs are located at each lifeboat station. It is important to the safety of all personnel that everyone remain at their mustering station until the order to stand down comes from the Fieldwood supervisor. Other types of alarms alert responders or production personnel of problems as they occur. Pay attention to all verbal alarms in case they should escalate to a muster situation. Quarters orientation. Personnel here at this facility have established procedures necessary to accommodate the needs and comfort of all personnel. If your visit requires an overnight stay, you will be assigned quarters and a bunk. It is necessary to sleep in the bunk you are assigned. This is necessary in the event you are needed while you are in your quarters. At mealtimes, please be courteous and respect the rights of others here by picking up after yourself. Please use proper hygiene when in restroom facilities. Clean and wipe out sinks when you are finished. Report any problems with the quarters to the Fieldwood personnel. And remember, good housekeeping fosters a safe environment. Personnel transportation. Swing rope. The final section of this orientation deals with the transportation of personnel and concentrates on procedures to ensure the safety of all involved. The first type of transfer we will address is the swing rope. We want you to know that if you are not comfortable with swinging from the boat to the platform or from the platform to the boat, don't. Your safety is of primary importance to the management and staff of Fieldwood. If you are comfortable with the transfer, check the landing area and stairs for wave damage prior to swinging. Transfer all materials and equipment to the boat or the platform. Never carry anything when using a swing rope. Before swinging, tug on the rope to ensure your weight will be supported. Always use 2 hands when using a swing rope, and remember to keep the rope on the side of your body. Air travel. Air travel continues to be one of the safest modes of transportation available. To ensure your safety, these are some general guidelines to follow when traveling in a helicopter. First, personnel must wait at the designated and posted passenger waiting area, which is clear of the heliport access points, and stairways. Items such as toolboxes or any other materials are not allowed on the heliport. Also, hard hats and baseball caps shall not be worn when approaching a running helicopter. Arriving passengers and cargo should be unloaded and cleared from the heliport and access route prior to loading departing passengers and cargo. If the aircraft provides more than one pilot, wait to be escorted by the additional crew member so that the boarding process can be supervised. When boarding aircraft that have only one pilot, follow these procedures. After arriving personnel and cargo have cleared the access route, wait for the pilot's signal before approaching the aircraft. Never assume that you have been seen. Always make eye contact with the pilot and wait for a signal before approaching. Access the helicopter from the front. Never walk around the back or get near the tail rotor area. When the rotor is spinning, it becomes invisible. Devastating injury will occur to any personnel who are struck by the tail rotor. Additionally, never duck under the tail boom of the helicopter. Properly store all baggage in the baggage compartment. All baggage carried in the passenger compartment of the helicopter must be properly secured. Before entering the helicopter, you must first don a life jacket. Place the life jacket over your head, clip the restraining straps, and pull the loose ends until they are secure. Once seated, fasten your seatbelt and don the hearing protection. You must remain in your seat and buckled up until you are ready to depart. In the unlikely event that the pilot is forced to make an emergency water landing, it is critical that you remain in your seat at all times unless otherwise instructed by the flight crew. Never inflate your life jacket inside the aircraft. Remain seated and follow the exact instructions of the pilot. Helicopter pilots are required to practice non-powered landings on a regular basis, so please trust your pilot and follow his exact instructions. Once you are at your designated location and exiting the aircraft, remove the life jacket and loosen the straps for the next passenger. Personnel basket. The last type of transfer we will discuss is the personnel basket. It is your responsibility to inspect the condition of the personnel basket prior to boarding. A tagline should be attached to the basket, providing others a means to assist with a safe transfer. Maintain a clear distance until the basket is aboard. You must use both hands to ride a personnel basket, therefore place baggage in the center of the basket. Don an approved PFD prior to boarding. To function properly, the PFD must fit secure, with all snaps fastened. Position one foot on the ring and the other on the deck as the basket is lifted. Keep your weight to the inside of the basket and maintain a firm grip. Never stand inside the basket or position yourself underneath the headache ball of the crane. Just before landing, place one foot outside the ring of the basket to soften the impact. Conclusion. We would like your stay here to be both productive and safe. Please remember that you are an integral part of our safety management system. If you observe any unsafe condition or operation while on board any Fieldwood facility, you have the authority to shut down the operation and report the condition to a supervisor in charge. If you have any questions regarding this material, please ask the facilitator of this orientation. With all personnel working together, we can continue to provide a safe, healthful place to work here at Fieldwood Energy.